years. That's what you want if you're a Clemson fan, because that's not something they've done in their history. Remember, this is only the 13th time in the history of the program that played in the NCAA tournament. So it's not like this is a tournament team that goes all the time. They're a little ahead right now when you look at the last 4 years of where they normally are traditionally as a program.
Well, I got to ask you, though, because after the tournament wraps up, it's been kind of a weird week. I mean, they have two guys that lead the program, including John Newman III, who went from averaging about 30 minutes a game down to 15 minutes a game. And, his presence on the court was kind of missed. I mean, last season, he was a guy that I think, led Clemson to a couple of wins with by taking and putting the team on his back. But then this season wasn't really given that much of I don't know if he fell out of good graces with the coaches or if there was injuries or what have you, but he's deciding to leave the program. And then, of course, the big power forward deciding he wants to go. It's just kind of weird to see that many folks leave right after an NCAA tournament appearance when, guys that are there are, the guys that are leaving, you're going to be able to fill those spots. It just seemed kind of off for me.
Yeah. First of all, go to John Newman, the situation there. He was injured twice in the preseason, once just before the season started, knee injuries, both occasions the same knee. They actually thought when he had the second one, it was going to be a serious injury. It turned out that it wasn't, but however, it did affect him. He never was really the same aggressive player that he has been the last couple of years. I think you saw, you would see peaks and valleys of it here and there, but you could just tell he wasn't the same player. And of course, that I think is what led to him not playing as many minutes this year. And also the fact, I think, you got better production from other guys on the team. Let's be honest. I mean, Hunter Tyson was playing well. And so, I mean, you're not going to take that guy off the floor when he was putting the production, averaging almost 10 points a game and doing the things he was doing. And then Hemingway had come on late and was shooting the ball well. And so I think this is a combination of all those things. And, it's just a matter, I think, where, Newman just thinks maybe, coming back, it was going to be hard for him to play again, to get those 30 minutes again, because these other guys had progressed. And really, let's be honest, they passed him this past year. They really did. So I think that's part of it with him. As far as Omax goes, I do know the reason for him leaving, but I'm not going to say what that is because that wouldn't be fair to anyone involved in the situation. Let's just say it was best for all parties involved that he's leaving Clemson, and I think the staff there wishes him all the best. But that's just the nature of the game you play in now with basketball. It's a game where, especially with this new transfer rules that are in place, guys are going to do this. You're going to see this more and more often, not just in basketball. You're going to see it in football too. You're going to see it in baseball more. So it's going to become a more common thing that's what fans are used to. And, this is what some people wanted. So you know what? You're going to get what you want. And so don't complain about it, because a lot of people were begging that they should have these kind of rights. And this is the result of it when you start giving them this much freedom.
Well, under that visor there, though, I mean, with those two guys leaving and with the seniors that are leaving, Brad Brownell's got to get hot on the transfer market, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, he is, and there's a couple of guys he's looking at right now. We know that he's spoken with one guy out of Boston College in Field. That's a guy who actually is a 6'8" power forward, averaging almost 10 points a game and 5 rebounds. So if you're trying to replace an Amir Sims with a transfer, I think that's a perfect guy to put in there with PJ Hall, right? So there's a guy who knows how to play in the ACC and was a productive player at another school in the ACC. So you figure he could come down and if he can just come in and be productive like that, that'll play big dividends when you look at the guys coming back that I mentioned earlier. They're bringing Tyson back and they're bringing their 2 guards back. And so they got some pieces in place if they can just get the right transfers to come in. They got a couple other guys they're looking at too that have played the major Division I basketball. So I think, yes, you don't like anybody leaving your program. The coaches especially don't. But, that's the nature of the game now. And we'll say this, Brownell has a very good track record of bringing in good transfers. Nick Honor is a great example of it. A guy he's got on his team right now is a great example of that. And, of course, go back to a couple of years ago when they brought in Marquise Reed and Sheldon Mitchell. Both were transfers, and you saw how good those two guys did. So,
well, Elijah Thomas was a transfer. I mean,
Elijah Thomas that's exactly a transfer from Texas A&M.
Right.
So that's another one. So they got a good track record of doing that, of bringing in guys that are successful. Even Jonathan Baer, despite his 2 ACLs, I mean, I thought a guy coming back from 2 ACL tears played pretty well this year, considering, and was a good leader on the team. And so, again, another guy that was a transfer. So they've proven that they can go on the transfer market and get some good players to come and play at Clemson. And again, guys, remember, playing basketball at Clemson is not easy because, it's not an attractive place for a lot of basketball players. It's just not because it's a different area here. It's not an area where a lot of kids come from city areas and they like having everything right by them. And if you come to Clemson, not everything's right by you. You kind of got to go out of your way to go to different places, whether you want to go to Greenville to go do something or Anderson. So it's a different area. You have to recruit certain kids that are going to fit the Clemson area and what Clemson offers. And I think Brownell does a good job of that in the transfer portal, and he tries to get that when he recruits kids here. But sometimes, the kid gets here and they just realize, Clemson's just not for them. And that's just the way it is. And that happens not just at Clemson, but it happens at a lot of places.
Interesting to see what's going to happen with the Clemson basketball team as they move on. I mean, watching the summer with the whole transfer thing is going to be huge for Coach Brownell as they head into next season. But let's move on here. The Clemson baseball team. I want to talk football with you in just a second, but the Clemson baseball team is going to play at Boston College this weekend. And, they seem to be kind of getting their footing just a little bit, but your thoughts on Clemson as they head to Boston College?
Well, this is a big series, I'm going to tell you, because BC has been a thorn in Clemson's side, even when they weren't really good. And now that, they're playing pretty well. They're 12-7 overall right now, 3-6 in the ACC, but they've played very well inside the conference as well, been very competitive. And, they got some good pitching that's going to cause problems. And let's just be honest, it's not like Clemson's tearing the leather off the ball right now, right? I mean, they only had 6 hits the other day in that win over Georgia Southern. So Clemson's still trying to figure out how to consistently hit the baseball well. The good news for Clemson is, though, Rob, they're finding ways to pick up key hits now, where that's something they weren't doing during that losing skid. So they've won 4 of their last 5. They're playing with some confidence. They're getting clutch hits here at the end. Winning that Virginia Tech series the way they did was huge. I think it's going to do well for their confidence. But they need to kind of carry that momentum into tonight. And so see how they do here in tonight's game, if they can go get the win and start this series off well. Because they don't want to be playing behind the 8 ball up there, and trying to figure out. And then you don't know what the weather's going to be like up there too, right? So you may have a game that doesn't get made up. And so you might want to win this first one, so you're not sitting in a situation where you only play 2 games as opposed to 3.
Well, we'll obviously be following that throughout the weekend. But before we get you out of here, it's almost like Days of Our Lives with the Deshaun Watson saga. That's what I'm referring to it on the program as now.
That's a good way to describe it.
It really is. I had my Days of Our Lives music queued up, but I didn't want to blow your eardrums out with it. It's just something new every day. What was it like last night? There was folks talking about, hey, the Texans were going to possibly trade him away. They started putting together some pieces with signing Tyrod Taylor and the backup quarterback, Ryan's, I can't remember his name, but they had options there behind Deshaun Watson. But now it's just more and more like, I mean, I don't even know where Watson's going to be, in the next 3 weeks, much less at the beginning of the season. I mean, it's just a mess.
Yeah, because of the allegations that are going against them that, Houston, the trade talks have kind of slowed down, because if you're another team that was interested in Deshaun before all this happened, the reason you kind of pump the brakes a little bit now is you don't know what's going to happen with the NFL. We do know the NFL is investigating, and with the NFL, you can just never tell what they're going to do. So, but if you look at the last couple of years in other cases that have happened around the league, maybe not this situation, but things that have happened, you've seen like the Tyreek Hill situation. If they put him on that exemption list, the commissioner's exempt list, then Deshaun will be able to get paid and all that stuff, but he won't be able to play. He'll be basically not on the roster until he's taken off that list by the commissioner. So, and so if you're an NFL team, you don't want to take that risk, because if you go and invest all this into him, draft picks and other players you trade, and then all of a sudden he gets there and then the commissioner goes out and says, yeah, he can't play, or he's suspended, then you can lose a guy for a whole year, half a season, 6 games, a quarter of a season. And that's not what you traded for, right? And so that's where teams are at right now, where they're just kind of backing off because they want to see what's going to happen in this case. So I know I was hearing that the trades were probably something that's going to happen before the draft, but that's not going to happen likely now, unless something here in the next week or so turns to where, the NFL sees that maybe what Deshaun is claiming that these things are false is actually true. And then the NFL can start, at that point, maybe, it would, other teams would start going back and looking at Watson again. But right now, you just don't want to touch that. If you're another NFL team, you don't want to touch that, because if you're going to go trade for a quarterback who's supposed to be a franchise quarterback and you're trading the farm for him, you can't risk him not being able to play.
And Miami, with the moves they made today, trading down from the number 3 pick and then and basically trading from 3 to 12, then 12 back to 6. I've got the stuff down in front of me out in my notes here, but that was one of the big talks, was that Miami was possibly going to do that. But it's just, now it's like, man, it's just, for the first time in Deshaun Watson's either college or professional career, I mean, he's facing some adversity that, it's going to take a lot for him to overcome. The knee injury and stuff like that. Yeah, no doubt that he would be back from that. But, this is bigger than that he's facing right now.
Man, this is adversity none of us can even think about.
Exactly.
If these allegations aren't true, and we don't know one way or the other, because none of us know. We don't, except for the people involved. If it's not true, how do you handle it, right? Because you were just put in a horrible situation, and people are going to always put you up there, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, even though if you're found innocent and you didn't do anything wrong, there's always going to be that self-doubt now. And he's going to have to deal with that the rest of his life, unfortunately. And that's the sad part about it, right? If these allegations aren't true. So, yeah, it's a sad situation all the way around. And if it is true, it's even sadder. So it's you hate it for anybody involved. And, it's just, it's just what's the best way to say it? You just got to be careful, right? And especially these young people that come into money and things of that nature. And I'm not saying that's what happened here. I'm just saying you just need not to put yourself in situations where something like this could happen. And how Deshaun, if he is able to come out of this and get back on the field and play, it's going to be interesting how he responds. You're right, because I don't know how I would handle something of this nature if it wasn't true and somebody was accusing me of something of that nature. I think any of us can, if we try to put ourselves in Deshaun's shoes and you're innocent, that would be hard to kind of deal with, right?
Right.
It's something that's hard to imagine how you would handle it.
Will Vandervoort from the Clemson Insider joining us this afternoon. Of course, folks can go and find your content at theclemsoninsider.com. And, of course, they can follow you on Twitter as well, right?
They absolutely can. Yeah, follow me at SteelerWill on Twitter. You can follow the website at Clemson Insider. Follow us on Facebook at The Clemson Insider on Facebook. We have all football. We got spring football practice today, day 12, I believe.
Right.
For Clemson.
We've had so much stuff that, we got to talk about that for a second before you get out of here, man. There's the stuff that's going on up there. Give us the vibe from Clemson spring practice. Anything you can tell us here today that we might not know?
Well, basically, it's just it's been a workman-like practice, 12 practices, if you will. They're having a scrimmage today at the stadium. It's going on here in just a little bit, probably about 30 minutes from now. They'll start scrimmaging. It's kind of more about the players, about, that Dabo wants to see the offensive line kind of find those guys they need to make a quality second team. He mentioned, the key obviously is running back. I like to see that. I think the big news that came out the other day was Justin Ross, the timeline for when he's going to be able to participate in hitting drills this summer when they get back for fall camp. We're going to find that out probably in May or June. What the doctor says on that when he goes back to Pittsburgh. Actually, we're supposed to meet today with his doctor, so we'll be finding that out here in just a little bit.
Interesting stuff there. All right, Will, as I said, follow him at the ClemsonInsider.com and on Twitter at SteelerWill. And as always, we appreciate you giving us some time here on the rundown.
All right, thanks, Rob. Appreciate you, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye. Will Vandervoort joining us here as always. We appreciate him and lots of information he gave us there. I'm not feeling the same thing he said about the Clemson basketball team, where he said, hey, Clemson's only been to the NCAA tournament 13 times and, going 2 out of 4 years. I don't necessarily agree with all that. I think that Clemson has put money into the basketball program, and you're in the ACC. I don't understand why being a little more consistent is such a bad thing. I mean, I just don't get it. And now the consistency word is going to be hard to come by because, you've got these guys leaving the program, and when they're leaving, then you've got to deal with bringing in transfers. You don't know how these transfers are going to work out. Nobody does. I mean, so I'm not really buying into that. I think that's kind of a mentality of, they go 2 times in 4 years. Is that what you really want? I mean, put it into perspective this way. There are teams in the NCAA tournament that pretty much go every single year that don't really put the funding, don't play in the conference that Clemson plays in. It just doesn't make much sense. But I don't know, man. The more and more you watch, the more and more it's like, okay. I mean, I guess you have to just kick back and think, all right, well, if that's going to be good enough, okay. We got plenty of football talk we're going to get into. Also, we'll look at the NCAA tournament matchups this weekend. We'll have that for you in just a moment. You're listening to The Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. I see you guys over there. Dabo is the snake oil salesman. Thank you, Tom. Wonder if New Spring Church got a natty ring too. I mean, if Dabo wanted to give one to the church, would you have a problem with him giving something to a church? You don't like Jesus? What's wrong with you, Tom? UGA owns Clemson. Except Kirby is still a buffoon, Alan. He's got that ladies' golf visor he wears on the sideline.
I like Alan.
My intern, Mr. Savage, college football is here. Say hello, intern.
Hello.
He said he likes you, Alan, because you're a Georgia fan.
Alan, I loved your comment. I love.
Why don't you and Alan get together and you guys can hold hands and go to the Georgia games together? That'd be awesome.
If you would like to, I would totally be up for
Oh
it.
my good, of course you would. You guys can hold hands and go to the Georgia game together. It'd be great. You guys can buy each other little bags of popcorn and all that good stuff.
As long as it means that Georgia beats Clemson by 20.
Yeah, well, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Former Tennessee assistant has landed a job with a MAC program. I'm not making this up.
Just a MAC program?
A MAC program. That's funny. Shaka Smart was terrible at Texas, but he's got a job somewhere else. We'll get into that too. And you've got news today you're going to share with us, right, Mr. Savage College Football?
I definitely do.
We'll do that when we come back. Come back
Great.
to the actual folks on the air here. Oh, goodness. Elijah Moore's 40 time. We'll talk about that. That guy's, he's pretty fast. Pretty fast. Ugh. You're pretty terrible, Jimmy. I'm not buying that, sir. I love these people that are running their mouths about I'd take Zach Wilson over Trevor Lawrence. Okay. You like losing. You like losing. That's what that tells me. It's a good point, sir. Very valid point. Jerome, I think that kind of broke this down yesterday, man. It's South Carolina's program's in better shape than Clemson's is right now. Well, welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeart Radio app. We've got a few minutes here. I wanted to welcome my esteemed intern and, of course, Mr. Savage College Football on Instagram. He's got some news for us. Tell us what you got that you've been putting out there on your Instagram page, sir.
Hello, Rob. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. What are you putting out there, buddy?
All right, so we've got some transfer news today.
Who transferred?
So to start, Washington State quarterback and son of football legend Drew Bledsoe,
right.
John Bledsoe, has announced he will be transferring to San Diego.
So he went from Washington State or
Yes,
Washington to San Diego. Well, it's warmer there. What else you got?
North Texas quarterback Jason Bean has announced he'll be transferring to Kansas.
So this guy thinks it's better to go be a quarterback at Kansas than to be in North Texas. I don't know if that says a lot about him or not, but okay. He knows they fired Les Miles, right?
Well, he did. He announced it, I think, a little over an hour ago. So
okay, so he probably knows. All right. What else you got?
SMU just got a pretty great cornerback out of Illinois State. He's from Dallas, and he's had 6 interceptions in the last 2 seasons. Pretty good pickup.
What's his name?
Charles Woods.
Charles Woods. Okay.
Did you hear about Micah Parsons' 40-yard dash from yesterday?
How good was his 40-yard dash?
A 6'3", 245-pound linebacker ran a 4.41.
That's pretty fast. That is not as fast, though, as the young man from Ole Miss, Elijah Moore. This is the guy that led the nation in receptions at 117, receiving yards and touchdowns, finished second nationally in both receptions and receiving yards last season. I'm sorry, Smith. That was, I'm sorry, I'll give the wrong numbers there. That's Devontae Smith's number. The guy who finished second was Elijah Moore, finished second nationally in receptions and receiving yards. The Ole Miss receiver went out and ran a 4.34 40-yard dash time. That, my friends, is fast. And the question now becomes, with that kind of speed, is he going to get drafted a little bit higher, or where's that going to put him in the draft? Because Devontae Smith, even though he won the Heisman, and I think he's a great player, I think he listed like 170 pounds or something like that. And, his nickname is Slim. Is that something that's going to keep him down the draft board, because he doesn't have the NFL weight, basically.
Speaking of the draft, have you heard what's going on about Zach Wilson?
What's up with Zach Wilson?
He's been getting a lot of praise. Someone said that works for ESPN, I believe. They projected him to be the second pick of the draft.
Right. I hear that, and then we're actually going to talk about that in just a little bit here. With Chris Sims had some comments and said that, hey, he would take Zach Wilson over Trevor Lawrence. Look at Chris Sims trying to be famous. Everybody goes into this whole thing of every year you have one person that says, all right, I'm going to take this guy over the projected top guy, et cetera, et cetera. And, if they're right, then they're going to throw that in our face forever. So Tom with a great point online. He will be the Mitch Trubisky of the draft. Completely agree with you. Tom says he wants to know in my order my top 5 QBs. You know, I'll give them to him after the break. So I'm not sold on Zach Smith at all. I'm just saying.
You mean Zach Wilson?
Zach Wilson. Yeah, why am I thinking Zach Smith? Zach Wilson. I'm not sold on him at all, but that's just me. I'm not trying to be a hater or anything. I just don't see it. So we'll have to see how that goes. But I'll give you my top 5 quarterbacks when we come back from our break. Of course, you can respond on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good. Podcast will be up at 5 o'clock today. As my intern over there doesn't understand when his microphone's on. Stop jiggling the ice. What is wrong with you? Oh, I turned your mic off. They can't hear you now. You got to work on that. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more for you here on the Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. My top 5 quarterbacks, right? Yeah, I've got those. Let's see if I can pull them up in my numbers here. Jimmy says that the jiggling ice was the best thing we've heard from you.
From me?
From you. That's what he said. You know what? We'll highlight that comment. Oh, that's great. Jimmy with the comment of the day. What's up, Brock?
I'm very hurt by that, Jimmy.
You gotta let that go. Wow, that's some top rope stuff there, Jimmy. Woof. All right, I'm going to give you guys my top 5 quarterbacks since you asked as soon as we come back from the break in about 30 seconds. I tell you guys this every day, but I appreciate you guys joining me over here. And we're building a little community here. Tell your friends about it. Share the video. Like the video. All that kind of stuff. We are the little show that could. We're just going to keep building and building and building the best that we can. Excuse me. All right, here we go. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. I had some folks ask me about my top 5 quarterbacks in the draft this year. And here are the 5 that I would go with. Number 1 for me would be Trevor Lawrence. He's going to be drafted by Jacksonville. Only people that are trying to make a name for themselves are going to try to put out there that he's not the number 1 guy. Now, is he going to be a Hall of Fame type guy? I don't know. But as far as his frame, the ability to throw the ball, all of that, he's got it. He checks off all of that. Guy lost, 2 games in his college career? Just saying. He knows how to win, and I think that's important too. Here we go. So he's number 1. Number 2 for me is Justin Fields from Ohio State. Now, I do think that he has a problem holding on. He holds on to the ball a little bit too long, but he can make all the throws. Very big, tall guy. Used to winning. Played, at a high level for a long period of time. And he can make some really good, tough throws. I mean, really puts balls into a spot and into windows and stuff like that you need to have in the NFL. He can definitely do that. So he's at number 2 for me. Number 3 for me, I had to think about this for a little bit, but I'm going to go with Mac Jones from Alabama. And I don't want to like go into this thing where it's like, all right, he's the guy that there's some people saying that, oh, well, he's the next, he had like the senior year like Joe Burrow had. I don't think he's the next Joe Burrow, but in this list of quarterbacks, I would go with Mac Jones at number 3. Number 4 for me, I'm going to go with Kyle Trask from Florida. And his numbers jumped up big time every single year. He was able to develop a rapport with several different receivers and just a great player. He's got the ability to scan in the pocket, and we can goof on Dan Mullen a good bit, but Mullen is put together. I mean, he really does get the most out of his quarterbacks. And so I like Kyle Trask at 4. At number 5 for me, I'm going to go with Trey Lance from North Dakota State. You know, he's a very physical type prospect and 6'4", 227 pounds, but he moves like he's a receiver. I mean, he is a big guy. So there you go. There's my top 5. Now, I know people are going to be like, well, Rob, what about the quarterback from BYU? He doesn't impress me as much as the other guys. Maybe it's the level of I don't think he's the athlete. The reason that he's not number 5 and Lance is because I think Lance is a better athlete in my opinion. I mean, as I said, 6'4", 227 pounds. So with that, that's why he's at number 5. The competition that he played, I mean, the guys that played at the SEC schedule above him, those 2 guys, you got to give them credit for that. And it took them more time to develop, but their final year, man, they really put it out there. Some folks out there talking about, let's find some silliness here. Brock says Jake Bentley is going to be the number 1 quarterback in next year's draft. Okay, sir. Let's see here. Tom says you're sleeping on Colin Hill for that number 5 slot. My bad. My bad, Tom. I'll try to do better. What do you got, sir? You don't like my rankings.
No, I was just going to say, is Colin Hill even going to get drafted?
I don't know. I think they're being silly. Anyway, but there's my top 5. So there you go with that. Try to keep the folks over there in the chat room happy. 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832. I have a note for LSU folks. This came out just a little bit ago. Eric Gilbert, the tight end who was supposed to be, if you asked LSU fans at the beginning of last season, oh, this guy's going to be better than Kyle Pitts. Absolutely, he's going to be better than Kyle Pitts, Rob. I don't want to hear anything about it. Eric Gilbert is going to be the absolute best tight end in the history of football. That's what LSU fans were telling me. So he played 1 season with LSU, and then he transferred, and then all the LSU fans were like, that guy's a problem. He went to Florida. Are you out of your mind? That guy's an idiot. We don't want anything to do with him. Man, it sucks that he put on this LSU uniform. Man, this guy's terrible. That's the vibe that you get from the LSU fans, put into a dramatic state for you here on the radio. So what happens? Apparently there are reports from Mike Farrell of Rivals that said that the tight end is reportedly in Baton Rouge this week. And the Tigers are currently in spring practice. Now, I don't know how that's going to work out. I'm not saying that he's going to go there. He didn't even enroll in classes at Florida. So he was transferred to Florida, but didn't even enroll in classes. And now this guy's telling us from Rivals that he's down in Baton Rouge. Maybe he's cleaning out his apartment. I don't know. But if he's trying to get back with the program, wow. LSU fans are going to have to bite that sandwich, and they're probably not going to like it, especially after all the horrible things that they said about him in the land of social media. By the way, one more story. Ed Orgeron, the words came out of his mouth that he didn't interview some of the guys that he hired for the 2020 season. Didn't interview some of his assistant coaches. How in the world does that happen? And then, even if it does happen, you actually put it out there for people to see that, hey, I just wanted you to know those guys that made our defense terrible last year, I didn't really interview those guys. I didn't interview them. The reason that we were an awful 5-5 or 6-5 or whatever it was that LSU was, instead of trying to be consistent and move themselves up after the huge national championship season they had. Yeah, I didn't hire any of those guys. I make sure that I've done it now, though. That's what he came out with. What a mess. What a mess that Coach Orgeron has shown that he has the capability to be a great coach by winning that national title. I'm not taking anything away from him for that. But to get on a microphone and actually say that, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind, Coach O. I didn't interview some of those guys. Really? Really? You should be ashamed of yourself for that. And LSU fans, turn your hatred from Eric Gilbert. I know you're going to be, if he comes back to you, you can turn your Eric Gilbert hate back to Coach O. He gets paid a lot more money than Gilbert does. He can take the tongue lashing that you were going to give Eric Gilbert and then go from there. Just two stories from the LSU program that are shocking in my mind. How do you not interview people that work for you? I mean, are you serious? You know, I mean, there's what, 15, 20 coaches on a staff, something like that. You're not going to interview them? Do you care about your job? Did you think this all was just going to come to you and, well, I'll sign off on him because this guy likes this guy? No, I'm going to interview you. Hopefully, Orgeron fixes that. If you want to respond to that, 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call. Tom says Coach O is playing 3D chess. That's outstanding. Let's see here. Edwin, who is a noted LSU fan, says, regardless of where he ends up, he's got some growing up to do. I hope he's, okay. He's not talking about Coach O. He's talking about Eric Gilbert. My bad, Edwin. Sorry about that. I thought Edwin was talking about Coach O.
Are we putting Edwin on blast?
Oh man, Edwin can deal with it. Edwin's 300 years old. He'll be fine.
Wow.
He's not gonna get upset with me because I got confused. I thought he was talking about Coach O needing to grow up and mature and not post pictures of himself or get pictures of himself posted on Instagram with a woman like that they had out there. By the way, you can find those pictures on my blog page at foxsportsradio1400.com. Yeah, hopefully Coach O and Eric Gilbert both mature a little bit here. We'll see how that goes. Final segment of the rundown when we come back. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. All right, Edwin, I honestly thought you were talking about Coach O.
I'm so sorry, Edwin.
And then it says Gilbert. Whoops. Edwin, you come to Columbia, I owe you a drink. Everyone's like, I come to Columbia, I'm going to punch you in the mouth. That's sad. I honestly thought he was talking about Coach O. You can tell it's Friday, man. You know, I get jacked up on Fridays, but because I've got everything else done for the week, and then, you know, I still get to come and do my show, which I absolutely love. So I hope so. He has a job waiting on him where his son is playing baseball. Yeah, he did go on the word of the people he trusted. Did you see Brock's comment there? Mr. Savage College Football.
Brock's comment?
Yeah, are you watching the live feed?
I am not watching the live feed. I apologize.
He says Coach O is getting that Cajun Punani.
That Cajun what?
Punani. That's funny.
Oh, my God.
That's awesome. Oh, that's a good point, too. Hey, man, Coach O could do no wrong, man. Not when they were winning that national title. You couldn't understand half of what he was saying, but, man, they won some football games. They were impressive. Coach O is a clown. With what he did, you know what? I absolutely agree with you there, Mr. Crimson. I absolutely agree with you. So the question is, who's the bigger clown, Coach O or the guy that wears the ladies' golf visor that coaches in Athens? They're both kind of clowns. I'm just saying.
Really?
We should get a GoFundMe together to get him some hats that are not the ladies' golf visor. I'll throw in $10. Who else wants to send Kirby Smart some hats? We should do that.
There is no need to put Kirby Smart on blast like that.
I can do whatever I want. I don't care. Coach O makes $6 million a year, and to tell you the truth, the best food in the South is at the gas stations. Thanks, Blake. Hilarious. All right, here we go. Final segment, guys. Final segment of the rundown this afternoon. We did have some questions that came up during the break there with the folks that are following us on the stream. One of them is, who is the bigger clown? Coach Orgeron for the stuff that he did where he just didn't, I didn't interview some of the people that are on my staff, or the guy that wears the ladies' golf visor that coaches down in Athens. That was one of the topics there. But the other one is, who's a bigger clown between Coach O and Dan Mullen? Mine's Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen, some of the stuff that Dan Mullen says, I think I've still got this, where they were asking Dan Mullen questions. I think it was after the Florida LSU game. And let's see if I've still got that, because that's hilarious. Hold on, please. If I had it, what did I call it? It's like, as I'm looking for some of this stuff, Mullen was like, oh man, the one where he basically was like, yeah, you know what? I don't believe that play happened where the guy chucked the shoe across the field. I got to find that clip and just keep that for football season.
Oh, Marco Wilson.
Yeah. So, which I'm thinking that that makes Dan Mullen the biggest clown. I'm just saying. Just saying. I think Dan Mullen's looking for an NFL job too, by the way. Anyway, with that, let's move on to the Sweet 16. Here are some of the matchups. The 16th seed Oral Roberts takes on the 3 seed Arkansas. Crimson Brave is one of my new favorite commenters over there. The home crowd was a huge factor in the game. Okay, terrific. Oral Roberts, by the way, has Max Abmas on the court. He's the nation's leading scorer. Can they beat Arkansas? I think they can. Will they, though? Probably not. Also, you've got Oregon State. They're the number 12 seed in the Midwest region. They play the 8 seed Loyola Chicago. Give me the stash in that game. Up next, you got Syracuse and Houston. Syracuse is going to beat Houston. It's just a vibe that I've got. And you know what? Jim Boeheim is going to sit there with his, he's got to be 86 years old now. He's going to sit there and just make comments about, the league this and the league that. And yeah, there's that. So I think they're going to beat Houston. Creighton, by the way, will play Gonzaga. Give that to Gonzaga. I think they're going to win there. Villanova plays the number 1 seed Baylor. Give me Baylor to get the win there. Probably the best matchup of the weekend, though, is UCLA and the 2 seed Alabama. Looking forward to that matchup as well. You got kind of an interesting Pac-12 matchup here, as Southern Cal will play the 7 seed Oregon. That's like a pick 'em in my mind. In the East region, the 4 seed is Florida State, and they play Michigan. Michigan has not played a team that has the length that Florida State has. You want to know how I know that? Because the longest, tallest team in the NCAA is Florida State. And when you haven't played against that kind of length that they have, and no one else does, no one else really has that kind of length or that kind of depth, I think they wear Michigan down, and I think they're going to win that game. So give me Michigan there. Alabama and UCLA, I said, is kind of a toss-up in my opinion. I think Gonzaga and Baylor will advance. Some of the comments over here in the chat room. Who's going to hire Dan Mullen? Good point, sir. Neither of those clowns have a trophy. Good point, sir. Blake says Mullen is the best player developer in the history of Mississippi State football. Well, tell us who number 2 is behind that. Because that's like being, I don't know. It's like winning your, I don't even know what the best way to describe it. Being the only shooter that shoots free throws and you're the best free throw shooter ever. Who else was behind him? Just saying. And of course, I think Blake is a Mississippi State fan. So really hated to lose him to Florida, but they had a lot more money to pay him. Maybe he just didn't want to coach at Mississippi State. Maybe he'd seen that he'd gotten to the top there. I don't know. I mean, if he's that great, he should have been able to develop them to a point where they wouldn't have been the bridesmaid to Alabama, LSU, Auburn. Just saying. Consistency is the key. And that's going to be the thing with Florida this year, too. Yes, they finally beat Georgia. A much talented Georgia team, much more talented Georgia team than Florida is. And that's, once again, by the recruiting rankings, over the past 5 seasons, number 2 in the country. That's what your average is, Georgia. You have 0 national championships. Number 2, 0. So coaches that bring in less talent than you have won national titles. And you go with the guy with the visor on the sidelines. Anyway, can Florida be consistent and win the SEC East this year with less talent than Georgia has? Now, you can make the argument Georgia's already lost their top receiver. That's something that's going to hinder them. But if you look at Georgia's schedule, after the Clemson game, they play one essentially tough game the rest of the season, and that's the Florida Gators. Georgia could go 10-2 this year with a loss to Clemson and a loss to Florida, and it's a horrible season. Don't believe me? Look at their schedule. I venture to say they will be favored in all of those games except the game with Clemson, which I think Clemson's going to be probably a 4 to 5 point favorite. Maybe a field goal. Maybe. They'll be favored in all the rest of those games. I truly believe that with the talent that Georgia has. This isn't the year they're not scheduled to play Alabama. They're not scheduled. I think they've got Auburn on the schedule, but Auburn's in transition. They're trying to bring the Mountain West to the SEC. Bo Nix is their quarterback. He's going to be up and down here and there and everywhere else. So I don't think that they're going to be that outstanding. Are you looking at their schedule, Mr. Savage, college football?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, am I right or am I wrong? The toughest game after Clemson is Florida, and that's it.
They only play one West team.
Yeah, the West team they play is Auburn, right?
Oh, no, the other one they play is Arkansas, yes.
Okay, so they've got Auburn and Arkansas. Anybody here think that Georgia's not going to be favored against Auburn and Arkansas? Just saying. Toughest game on your schedule is Clemson. Now, I know Georgia fans, they'll come back and but the toughest game on Clemson's schedule is Georgia too. You're absolutely right. But Clemson's favored in that game, I'm sure. Whoever wins that game is going to have they'll be favored the rest of the way to go undefeated. It's kind of crazy because your season could be over by Labor Day. Imagine that for a national championship caliber team. What you got, sir?
I would like to make a prediction.
Okay.
If Georgia beats Clemson,
Okay.
they will not go undefeated, and they will lose a game they should not lose to.
To who?
Missouri or Kentucky.
Oh, goodness. I'm not even entertaining that. That's just sad. Lawton Swan of Clemson Sports. You don't get to talk next week when you're having some silliness like that. Mizzou's got issues all over the place. They're not going to have Nick Bolton back. They've got more questions than answers. Even though I like Mizzou, I like Coach Drinkowitz. I think Mizzou's going to be just a step off this year.
Everyone said that in 2019 before they played Carolina.
Yeah, I understand that, but do you know who Nick Bolton is?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
I said
research.
Missouri or Kentucky.
Fine. We'll have to talk about that when we get off the air. Lawton Swan of Clemson Sports Talk is next. He is the czar of Clemson Sports. Be sure to follow him at Clemson Sports. You can download the podcast for this show. It'll be up before 5 o'clock today. You can watch the show on the Fox Sports Radio Facebook page. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm at Rob Sounds Good. All kinds of content I put out there. A lot of it goes to my blog page at foxsportsradio1400.com. Read up on the Deshaun Watson saga. There's plenty of it there. It's almost like a timeline. So be sure to check that out as well. As I said, I'm on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good. Where can people find your Instagram page, sir?
You can find it on Instagram and just type in Savage College FB.
Savage College FB on Instagram, all kinds of great college news. Go and give him a follow. I'm trying to convince him to get a Twitter account. We're working on it. Hey, thanks so much for joining us on this week's show. We'll be back at it on Monday. We'll have the final. Well, actually, we'll have some of the Final Four by Monday. Enjoy the basketball games this weekend. Lawton Swan is next. My name is Rob Sanders, and I am out of here. All right, you guys rock, man. We'll see you guys later on. Thank you so much.